Yeah, well, I mean, I think if we just focus upon what's going on, the China crackdown took place, the hash rate moved to the United States. We drew down to 80, 85 exahash, and now we're back up hitting all-time highs again. So I think the overall mining network has redistributed itself and further decentralized itself, and there's been a Western drift of the Bitcoin network. So I would say geopolitically, we saw Bitcoin drift west, and I would say economically, and that's all been a good thing. I think we've seen a substantial Western embrace of Bitcoin since May, even. If we look at the political winds that are blowing, clearly there's a lot of support. There was a fear, I think, 6 months ago that we might have government antipathy toward Bitcoin in the West. You heard the most informed criticism was, Ray Dalio's, well, it's so good, someone's going to ban it. It's like, it kind of, first it was, well, I don't get it, I don't like it, it's bad. And then it became, I guess it's not bad. And then it became, well, I guess it's not going away and it works, but it works too well. Then it became a Jamie Dimon, Ray Dalio, it's just too good. Even, Frank Giestra, eventually everybody kind of revolved around or settled upon the narrative that, yeah, it's not bad, it's good, but it's too good. And that's why I'm afraid of it. And I think in the last 6 months, right, we see, in fact, the opposite's happened. The administration's in favor. We've got supporters of Bitcoin in the administration. It seems to me like Biden was a positive check. The entire set of administrative regulators are positive checks. Most of the noise around regulation is really just the altcoiners, right? The DeFi people, the security token people, the staking protocols, the stablecoin issuers. And they want to generate a bunch of noise that regulators are hostile, but I can't see any activity in the past 6 months from a regulator that was, in my opinion, hostile to Bitcoin. I think that the politics right now are such that you kind of have crypto versus Bitcoin. You have all the altcoins versus Bitcoin, and generally, if the altcoins could drag Bitcoin into the debate, right? If it's bad for the altcoin, they want it to be bad for Bitcoin so that all the Bitcoiners will support their position. So I think you see a lot of that where people will try to recharacterize utterances by regulators as being bad for Bitcoin, when in fact, they're not bad for Bitcoin. They're bad for security tokens, DeFi exchanges, unregulated crypto exchanges, NFTs, or something else, but not Bitcoin. I think the other dynamic you see here is a little bit of tension between the entrepreneurs that control the industry in the first decade and the institutions coming in the next decade. Everybody in the world agrees that digital currency is a good idea. I mean, the Chinese want digital currency. I think every country wants it. Even the US wants it. We just can't agree on whether or not you should be an FDIC and, chartered bank to issue it, and whether or not, what are the licenses you need to issue a digital dollar versus anything else, versus an analog dollar. So I think there's a lot of noise that's all about will the entrepreneurs continue to be able to do business unfettered, or will they need to come public, right? Is it public investors or private investors? Is it public companies or private companies? Is it chartered banks or techno entrepreneurial banks? Is it onshore or offshore? I think that in the past 30 to 60 days, the thing that's surprising to me is actually there's so much general support for everything in Congress and the Senate, right? The narrative was they're going to ban it. I think my observation is they don't want to ban anything, right? Like, which actually means that you have the administration in the middle, you have the politicians on the far, what is the word, liberal side. And then you kind of have Bitcoin maximalist on the other side, which is to my mind, interesting. I think that the volatility in the market right now is because Bitcoin is still conjoined with the rest of the crypto industry. Like, as far as I can see, the people driving the market in the near term from day to day are large pools of hedge fund capital and investor capital, highly leveraged, fast money that's cross trading Bitcoin versus every other altcoin offshore and in DeFi with huge leverage. And their time horizons are 1 minute to 1 week. What do I think in general? It's like, obviously I'm bullish on the asset class. It seems to me that we've got remarkable consensus that Bitcoin is digital property. We got remarkable consensus that Bitcoin is the one universally accepted commodity. We've also got a consensus growing that everything else is a security, by the way, safe, which is, if you roll the clock back 12 months, I think it wasn't clear, but I think right now, out of 6,500 cryptos, I think that you might have a debate over 12 of them being property, and it looks like everything else is a security. And if you're not a proof of work coin, if you're a proof of work coin that's a fork of Bitcoin or something like that, maybe there's a debate about whether it can be property. Half of them aren't, half of them are. But everything that's got an ICO, everything on proof of stake, everything related to DeFi, all of the functional coins, all the staking tokens, it's pretty clear the view of the regulators is if there's staking involved, it's a security. If there's DeFi involved, it's probably a security, right? If there's a central organization, if there's a venture capitalist involved, it's a security. If there's a central development head, it's a security, right? Any of those things are securities. And I think a lot of people don't want to embrace that reality, but that is kind of the reality. And so,
yeah, I think it's very astute what you said, that the alts are trying to drag Bitcoin into this. And I think, your average altcoiner is usually out there complaining about Bitcoin consuming so much energy, and Bitcoin is boiling the oceans, and Bitcoin's outdated, and we don't need Bitcoin, and we need to move on. And just yesterday I saw some guy from one of the most centralized crippled shitcoins, which I won't name explicitly, making a proposal for how to advance Bitcoin by moving off proof of work in order to reduce electricity consumption. So they're always, they're always so concerned about Bitcoin. They need to change Bitcoin, and they think Bitcoin is dead, and they want you to not invest in Bitcoin because they want you to join the gains, until the regulators come about, at which point they start getting angry at Bitcoiners because, Bitcoiners aren't supporting us, and Bitcoiners are cheering on the SEC, and Bitcoiners are being statists. And it's pretty interesting. And I think that you also see that as well from a lot of the organized lobbying. I think a lot of the DC coin people, their modus operandi is to try and get, nobody lobbies for Bitcoin. That's the thing. Very few people, like if you get Bitcoin, you realize it doesn't really need you to lobby for it much. And you realize there's a very high opportunity cost for investing in lobbyists, and you'd rather just stack sats with it, because Bitcoin is clear. It's very clear that it, as you said, Satoshi's innovation is real. The Immaculate Conception, it wasn't a security. It was obvious it wasn't a security. It was just a digital form of property that emerged organically on the internet. Nobody controls it. So there's no point behind wasting money on lobbying, but there is a lot of incentive for altcoiners to spend a lot of money on lobbying, because it's very clear that their altcoins are securities. And so there's a lot of incentive to try and bundle in the altcoins with Bitcoin in order to try and pass it off as, and everybody wants their altcoin to be part of the small number of alts that are like Bitcoin. Well, ours is decentralized, ours and Bitcoin are decentralized, but all these other ones, let the SEC tear at them. I'm also wondering, what do you think in terms of, I think, in a sense, like the attack on Bitcoin, many Bitcoiners have been pretty paranoid about the idea that governments are going to attack. And it seems, even the China thing, as you said, yeah, they banned the mining, but they haven't banned ownership, and they haven't thrown anybody in jail because they own Bitcoin. They haven't criminalized it. It's not like owning cocaine. You're not getting searched and arrested for it. But it seems to me like, fiat world is fighting back in a sense by perhaps, people who are from the fiat world, they just, I'm not saying this is kind of a conscious conspiracy. It's just intellectually, they think of it as, the fiat coins as the altcoins, because they're centralized. They allow us to do more tricks. They allow us to have more leverage. They allow us to have more credit, more financing. It looks to me like that is kind of the attack on Bitcoin. Like people who are not excited about the prospect of hard money and escaping fiat are thinking of, boosting all the non-Bitcoin coins. Like you think of somebody like Elon Musk coming in and choosing to pump Dogecoin. I think that's not entirely unrelated to the fact that, a lot of people coming from traditional finance are in the fiat mindset of money needs to be controlled by a group of people.
Well, I think that if the Bitcoin community just embraced the idea that Bitcoin is digital property and it's going to coexist with digital currencies issued by the United States or Europe or China, then 99% of all of the resistance and friction just disappears completely. And then what you realize is your debate is with gold, and your debate is with real estate, and your debate is over whether you should buy the S&P index, and it just becomes an investment decision. And then everybody that doesn't want to own Bitcoin because they want to own Apple stock just looks like they like Apple stock, right? Like if you want to invest in a VC venture, if you want to invest in a hotel, if you want to invest in a stock, if you want to invest in a collection of Picassos, these are all just different investment decisions that you made in lieu of buying Bitcoin. If you characterize it like that, then it becomes a lot less controversial, a lot less heated, and just step back and let the battle of the currencies take place between the currencies. I mean, the real battle right now is between the dollar and the peso and the Naira and the RMB and the, et cetera, all the currencies. And there's no reason, if Bitcoin doubled every year for the next decade, it still wouldn't be but a small fraction of the money in the world. Right? So for the next decade, we could simply be good citizens, watch digital property grow from being 1 out of 500 trillion dollars, right? We're 1/500th of the property in the world or something like that. Why not just become 20% of the property in the world, become 200 trillion, if we're 200 trillion and there's 1,000 trillion, right, we'll be 20%. So at the same time, like if I'm gold, it's like the gold people, they want us to agree that we're both sound money and the enemy is the Fed. Okay, well, like, let's think about that for a second. I'm going to basically give the gold bugs 90% of the money. They're going to be worth 10 trillion. I'm worth 1 trillion. And we're both going to collectively agree that we want to topple 100 million businesses, all the accounting systems in every nation state in the world together. Like, why would I even bother, right? Why not simply just destroy gold? Why not just take the 10 trillion of gold and go from 1 trillion to 10 trillion? And how about, you know, try walking into the boardroom of Disney Corp or Coca-Cola and telling them that we've decided that we stand for toppling nation states and the currency, and what we want them to do is buy Bitcoin. Like, I've said this before, you literally could line up everybody and every corporation in the world, hold a gun to their head and say, you have to stop taking dollars and switch your accounting systems. And you have to shoot them all. Because even if they wanted to, they couldn't, right? Nobody can change the fact that the world runs on dollars and the accounting systems are wired for currency.